I'd say let's go. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dirk Altshoot. I'm the marketing lead for UiPath in Benelux, and I wanted to welcome you to today's session during Amsterdam Fintech Week, a virtual Fintech Week, as a lot of events these days. We have organized a session to bring to you the concept of the UiPath Immersion Lab. Usually the Immersion Lab is a full day, 2 days, 3-day session, depending on the need of the organization attending. In virtual times, it's a 4-hour session. Today, we will do 1 hour. The focus is banking and finance. My colleagues, Elaine Mannix and Maria Miesch, will introduce you to UiPath technology, possibilities, the innovation which goes around that. We have a chat where you can post your questions. Maria and Elaine will try to pick up the questions during the conversation. And whatever we couldn't answer during the talk, we will pick up at the end. So I would say I hand off to Maria and Elaine, and hopefully we can bring you some innovation and inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk. I think before we kick it off, it's best to kind of briefly introduce ourselves. I'll start off. My name is Maria Miesch. I'm a lead for the Immersion Labs within UiPath. So basically my role here is to spend time with customers and partners, understand their objectives, understand how to get them in an accelerated manner to those objectives. In these 4-hour sessions, or back in the day when we had the physical opportunity to meet each other in 2 or 3 day sessions, but we do hope to kind of go back to those days as well. Yeah, so that's pretty much my role, to understand customer needs and create these tailored experiences for them in order for them to accelerate their scaling.
Great, I'm Elaine Mannix. I'm part of our industry team, and I sit in our financial services. My background is in insurance, 20 years in insurance. My role in UiPath is to help our customers to understand the value of automation, to help solve their challenges. I work with our big core customers across EMEA, and I get to work with the Immersion Lab in solving challenges for these companies. So we're going to focus on some of that today. So welcome.
Okay, so then let me share my screen first and start the presentation. We have a couple of slides, but not too many. And also, as Dirk mentioned, just to kind of, if you have any questions, please post them in real time and we'll pick them up. Actually, like, I'll be speaking a lot. I hope I won't bore you today, but Elaine will be picking up the questions in real time. So anything, please share them in the Q&A. And hopefully we have a very interactive session. So within the lab, actually, that's one of the main selling points of this virtual labs that we offer, the fact that for both customers and partners, the whole session is very interactive. So we don't aim to do webinars, we aim to do completely tailored, completely personalized conversations that go 2 ways. Okay, let me share screen. Okay, and okay, then here we go. So to give you an idea of what we plan to do today, I want to give you a brief overview of hyperautomation, how hyperautomation comes into play within financial services. And actually, that's what Elaine is going to tell you more about. I can tell you about the theory of hyperautomation, how I've been seeing it happening, all the diverse customers that we've had in the lab. As we've had over 400 customers, out of which we've been covering all industries. And the very interesting thing is that everyone is kind of looking at the same things. Obviously, there are industries such as financial services, such as pharma, that really focus on compliance and focus on protecting data and focus on accelerating the creation of offer or the transmission of data. But you'll see throughout all industries and throughout all verticals, we are still looking at the same type of things, like improving processes, digital transformation, looking at machine learning to accelerate your processes, looking at chatbots, so looking at all different technologies to increase your digital transformation and your automation journey. So that's really what we want to look at. So you see here, robotic process automation. This is kind of the basis of UiPath. And this is what we've been doing since 2015 officially. Basically, robotic process automation means when you automate your repetitive tasks. So you have a process, an end-to-end process, you create a map, and a robot, a software robot, will live on top of your systems and start automating those repetitive tasks exactly as a human. Now, as organizations have started to mature, they've been looking at more and more processes and more complex processes. Obviously, you can start, and you should start with your low-hanging fruit. So whether you're, of course, you're in financial services, but you still look at your simple processes that reside within finance, that reside within HR, that reside within accounting, so on and so forth. These are your low-hanging fruits, and all of the companies have the same type of processes that can be easily automated, and you have a good return on investment to start. But as you look to widen your digital transformation, to find more opportunities, to actually unlock end-to-end value, you start looking at more and more technologies that you integrate within your automation. So you still look at RPA as your glue, but you start adding intelligent and cognitive automation. And this is where most enterprises are today. They're looking at including pockets of machine learning. They're looking at unstructured emails, at predictive processes, so on and so forth. Then you look at integrating a human in the loop and using robots as your assistants. And this is what we'll be looking at today in a live demo too. So basically working with software, working with your robots for every customer within your company. For every employee within your company. So this is our UiPath's mantra, also a robot for everyone. So you can use robots as your day-to-day partners. And stacking all of these together brings us to the year of kind of hyperautomation. And hyperautomation is a term coined by Gartner as a strategic trend for 2020 and above. As we're kind of nearing the end of 2020, it seems like all the companies have indeed been gearing towards hyperautomation, towards more and more digital transformation. So although it's a buzz term, and since you're on FinTech, we may be hearing a lot about hyperautomation, what it basically translates into is a wider digital transformation opportunity. It means unlocking value and opportunities to rapidly scale. And we still have RPA as the center. As I was saying, RPA, think of RPA as a glue, and this is what we'll be showing today. And this is what we always show in the lab, how you can actually leverage RPA with all of these technologies together to solve your end-to-end problems. Now, if you look at an entire process from a bird's eye view, there's no one technology to solve it. There's no one technology to complete your digital transformation. You have to look at including AI skills. Maybe at the beginning you want to improve your interaction with the customer or your employees' access to information through chatbots. You want to find more and more processes through process mining, through analytics, so on and so forth. Bringing all of these together, you create a hyperautomation stack. And this is really what we show in the 4-hour sessions we have in the labs with our customers and with our partners, how to kind of leverage this complete technology stack to create value for your organization. And within the lab, and I'll tell you a bit more later of how a normal session would look like. This is a very, very accelerated mock session of a lab. We showcase three important parts. Industry experts such as Elaine here, or strategic experts that kind of tell the story of how you can create automations within your companies, how you can accelerate your journey, how you can find both the sponsorship, how you can create return on investment, and how to kind of understand the proposition from a strategic level. Then we look at either including the technology ecosystem that I've been talking about, and also including our product stack. And the UiPath platform, if you're familiar with it, if for those of you that are not, I'll just kind of very briefly mention where we started. So initially you see here, 6 colored columns. Initially we had the blue one, the orange one, and the red one. So when we started, we had your place where to build robots, which is called the studio, a place where to manage the software to manage your robots, the orchestrator, and the robots that run, the attended robots that act as your partners living on your physical laptop, and the unattended robots that work 24/7 on a virtual machine and can be scheduled. Now, as we've been investing a lot in R&D and through the acquisition of other companies, we've actually went on a strategic journey to look at actually expediting automation through the whole end-to-end, the end-to-end vision, right? So now our product stack includes products that are focused on discovering what to automate. So Automation Hub and Task Capture are two products that are focused on accelerating your finding your correct processes. So what a BA from a consulting partner would normally do, as well as process mining, which does an X-ray of all your existing processes and highlights the processes that are more suitable for automation. Then we follow up with engagement. So basically what we're going to show today with chatbots, with assistants, with action centers. So a drag and drop feature that allows you to interact with robots. And last but not least, the last step of automation, how do you prove your return on investment that you've been creating? We have complete integrations with Insights and with other BI tools. So Insights is a UiPath product, but as well we integrate with other BI tools that allow you to look to see not only how much the robots have been working, but how those robot hours turn into dollar signs, if you will. So what actual return on investment you've been achieving with your automations. So what I want to say is that within these labs and within hyperautomation, we've been focusing on four main pillars, which coincide with the UiPath growth pillars. How to discover, and this is what we teach customers, and this is what we teach partners. How to discover and manage every automation opportunity, and how to democratize automation throughout their enterprises. How to enable automation enterprise-wide, empowering everyone to automate. So I was mentioning a robot for every person, but you can also look at finding champions that you can enable to automate more. So we see bringing automation to everyone in the same way that you could be working with Excel. Automate more and more advanced processes by integrating drag and drop AI. And last but not least, demonstrating the value bring and the return of investment of every automation. So I've given you kind of the starting point of where we like to go with both with the UiPath and both with the Immersion Labs. And now I'll hand it over to Elaine to actually apply this to financial services.
Great, thank you, Maria. We're going to turn now to look at this in context for financial services before we go into a demo. And I'm going to take you through what people are doing right now, successful companies, how they're automating. And I'm going to give you some hot topics in where people are applying this in financial services at the moment. And I'll briefly talk about some of the customers we've had at the Immersion Lab and the type of problems they've been solving. Before we go into the last session about how you can sign up and participate in an Immersion Lab. Financial services, lots of processes end to end, long-running processes, a lot of people, a lot of departments in it. So what we're finding is customers that are doing this really successful are doing 3 levels of automation. One across the top, with obviously the nirvana of straight-through processing. Can you do some of your stuff no touch? Now that might not be your new business stuff. It may be stuff like endorsements where you've already onboarded customers, but we've got that. So the view today we're looking at is a financial services. We can translate this for banking, for life, for health, for insurance. It doesn't really make any difference. We're talking about joining up front, middle and back office. And the challenges across all is very similar. Most people have started with integration. Maria talked about we started with straight RPA back in 2015. That was a big area, integration. And now it's moved on to a lot more sophisticated hyper-automation, the convergence of that technology. So we've got first level, end-to-end across the top, joining up all those departments, all that data that's sitting there. Our other level is to go in deep dive into a department. It might be example claims, it might be F&A, a more generic one, but driving out the value of automation, hyper-automation in those departments actually assists with transformation. It's not just the fingers and toes, it actually allows you to transform. The other level of automation is the bottom up. And in financial services, we're looking at that by persona. And in essence, it's a digital assistant where we're providing tasks by persona across this industry. And that's resonating really well with our customers at the moment, because we create these sort of high frequency tasks, the heavy lifting ones, where you can run them on demand when you need to, and they support that individual role. So we're not trying to dictate when and how you do it, but it's available there to free up your capacity to do some stuff. And we've been working with those roles across the piece. So they're the 3 levels of automation. Now, the people who are doing it really well, as I say, are doing the 3 levels, obviously not all together, but the option is to actually drive that value across it. The 3 hot topics at the moment that are sort of highest on the agenda for financial services is these front office services, where sort of post-COVID, we've had a huge amount of demand on customer channels, an increase in contact, people wanting to understand, you know, whether it's life premium, like pensions policies, our insurance policies, whatever it is, whether it's sort of mortgage, holidays, whatever it is, we've seen a real surge in there. And that's one of the areas we come to the Immersion Lab for. Email triage is a real sort of simple starting point for people getting involved in machine learning and AI. How can they triage? And we've got a customer that's doing that they've got a volume of about 1 million emails coming in, over 1,600 email boxes without personal ones. And you can see the challenge that are there. So that's one that people are trying to say, imagine we could do that at the front door. Imagine we could create some structured data at the front door. The other hot topic is this single customer view. And we've got a new low-code agent console that we can actually stand up quite quickly, and we're going to have a look at that in the demo that follows, where we start bringing the right information to the right person at the right time to make decisions. Because as we know, there's a lot of different systems in financial service, and instead of the person going in, the role going in and out of all those different systems, we're starting to build that view where we can bring it actually to the person at the right time to do that. And you'll see that in a couple of minutes. The other one, as I mentioned already, is the attended automation, the bottom up, where we're freeing up capacity of individual people so they can apply it in more value added areas. So that's attended automation, where it's freeing it up. So they're the 3 certainly hot topics and particular things that people are coming to the lab to do, the more complicated stuff. But in financial services, we're seeing the convergence of all that technology providing the opportunities for automation. I'll briefly touch on the type of customers we've had at the Immersion Lab. We've had Generali, Allianz, AXA, people like that. We've had the Dutch Bank. So we've had various people who've come to solve particular challenges. And Maria will go into more detail about it, but it's been pretty much to give them the opportunity to propose a challenge, to come along and to see this technology in context. How could it help me with my strategy, to enable my strategy, and how could I do it? Whether that's in financial services, it's normally around growth, obviously. As all you audience will know, it's around trying to free up people to grow or to create new products. It could be around cost out, trying to improve processes. It could be around risk and compliance, as Maria said earlier, in some industries as well. So that's just a business view. And I think we're going to lead into an example. We're going to look at a banking example, as we've talked about other industries there, but pretty much it's applicable for whatever type of role. We can adapt it, this digital assistant, and it's all about getting the right data to the right person at the right time. So Maria, I'll hand over to you to do the demo.
Thank you. I'll just switch the screens. So bear with me for 1 second. Okay, As Elaine mentioned, we're following a certain concentrated path today. So we've gone on a very, very broad, short strategic vision. Then we looked at how we can apply that within financial services. And now, as we would do in a lab, a big strong point of the lab is that we show live demos that run live in our environment, in our lab environment. This one won't be live because it's a concentrated version, but normally all these demos are developed by our Immersion Lab team. And they usually are, their power is they don't showcase necessarily technology as much as they showcase solving a business problem. So for example, here, what I'm going to show today is a UiPath integration with a chatbot. For this particular example, we chose Druid, which is one of our technology partners, and as well with integrating with Azure. So the storyline behind this, it's a way to reshape customer experience with intelligent automation. I'm going to show you a chatbot that is going to act as an assistant to a bank teller. So the screen you'll be seeing is the screen of a bank teller, and the scenario we're looking at is when a customer of a bank, in this particular example, goes into the actual bank space and starts speaking with a bank teller. Yes, this happens in a physical environment, and now we're a bit limited by the physical interaction, but it would act in the same way if you're speaking with an agent on the phone. Similarly, it would act in the same way if it was a bank, if it was an insurance company, it doesn't really matter. It was even an investment banking company, it doesn't really matter. The idea is how to showcase the use of robots, integrating with chatbots, or also integrated with what Elaine mentioned earlier, agent desktops, or attended robots that act as your assistants. So with that, I'll play it and hope the sound doesn't work. Okay, so this is broadly kind of the storyline we're going to be looking at, as I was saying. An existing customer goes into a interacts with the front office agent that interacts with the chatbot. I'll show you the end-to-end process in a minute, but basically we're going to see a lot of technologies converge. So I've talked about the chatbot. One of the things that we're also looking at is OCRing an ID. So the customer is going to come with an ID, and we're going to use OCR integration to pick the information up from their ID. Now, one thing I want to mention here is that obviously this is going to work with any documents as long as you train the OCR agent, the OCR technology on the documents. But one thing we also show in the lab, and one thing that we also experiment with customers, are unstructured documents. So we've created a machine learning model that has been trained on thousands and thousands, for example, of invoices. And you won't be forced to actually train the machine learning model and tell it that this is how an invoice should look like. It's already going to know. Similarly, you can apply this to all types of unstructured documents, and this is something that we can test with you in the lab as well, to kind of create the machine learning models for unstructured documents. So as I was saying, after the chatbot gathers the information, it's going to send it to different banking back office systems. And it's also going to use machine learning. It's going to call out the machine learning model to calculate the best next offer for that customer. Once the customer chooses the best chooses the loan they're going to receive, the robot is going to go back into the systems, create all the documentation, and even print it. In this example, we're going to be looking at an attended robot that, as I was mentioning, acts as your partner. Okay, so let me see if I'll just skip to this. Okay, so as I was saying, this is what a bank teller agent would see. You would have a screen with all these shortcuts to different things that you would be interacting with normally. In our example here, and I'm going to stop it here, John Doe comes into the bank and asks you start interacting with the customer. Immediately, the chatbot is going to trigger an unattended robot, that goes into different systems that you already have and pulls all the information we have on the customer from different systems. Now, if you were a bank teller that would not be working with a robot or would not be working with a chatbot, there would be no way you could, it took like 3 seconds to gather all this information. There would be no way you could A, have the time to look in all the systems to gather information, and B, actually bother looking in all the systems to gather the information. Now, there is information that resides in the systems that could tell you John Doe has visited another branch a week ago, and they were interested in a different product. Or they've been ringing up the bank 3 times a week because they have a certain issue. That you maybe would not have access to all this information, or it wouldn't be anyway presented in a unified 360 view as we're working with here. So you see here the kind of all the information that resides in your different CRMs, in your different back office systems, in your different web applications, or in your different mainframe applications, alongside the offers the customer is eligible for and the active products they have. Now the bank teller is going to search for alerts and see if there's anything outstanding within the customer's account. And in this particular example, their ID has expired. And this is where the bank agent is going to ask the customer for a new ID. And they're uploading their ID. This particular example is with, I believe it's a Romanian ID here, but it really doesn't matter. It could be any type of ID. So the document vision skill that I was mentioning before, it recognizes the ID and it's going to gather all the information from it. Once you say that everything is correct, well, in the demo purposes, we're using the data of a fictional character. The chatbot is going, so I'm going to say it's okay. And the chatbot is going to notify the UiPath robot that's going to go into all the different systems and update the information of the customer. And you see it now updating data for the user in a web application. Okay, so the data has now been updated. The robot goes back. So this was a attended robot, and now it goes back to the chatbot and to the teller really, and tells them, okay, I've updated everything. Let me see what kind of offers I can actually give the customer. So it's a good opportunity to upsell, all to sell, cross-sell, upsell, present different products without actually presenting products that aren't suitable for the certain customer. The customer chooses one of the offers. So in this particular case, a 15% discount for the mortgage loan. And first they have to accept, well, the GDPR. So this is why the chatbot has triggered the attended robot to create the GDPR documentation and actually even print the GDPR documentation that the customer is going to sign in this particular case. So what's happening here is that for this example, there's an integration with an external credit check. So basically the customer has accepted for the external agency to do the credit check, and the robot is going to go into their website, do the credit check after it gathers the information from the customer, such as what type of salary they have, where they're employed, and if they're persons, any kind of people that are financially dependent on him. So your usual questions when you do your kind of credit check or when you create your loan application. Okay, so once it gathered all the information, we're going to send it back again to an attended robot that's going to create a new credit request, as I was saying, for a mortgage application, for a mortgage loan. So. And you've seen this before. The robot interacts with the web application system. It's going to create the customer offer. So again, this is a robot working here. And it goes back to the chatbot. It tells them this is the offer I have created for the customer. Is everything okay? And these are the next actions you should do. And we're activating the mortgage loan. At the same time, the customer is going to receive these in emails. So all the documentation in an email as well, and as well if in it doesn't really matter in an SMS, something like that. So we're covering all the channels through which kind of a customer can interact with an automation. Okay, any questions so far before I move on with this example demo?
We just had a question, Maria, whether we're going to share the demos and the deck, which I'm sure Dirk will be happy to do when we're finished. There is one other point to make. We have got one for insurance as well, and a really good sort of point to make is we stood it up for about 2 weeks in a prototype with an insurance customer. We used Druid because it's got, I think, 40 different languages, Maria, and we've got the integrations already built. So we used that, and when we started to present the information, we used sort of UiPath to quickly decide what the business wanted, because as we know, sometimes it might be in your head, but to get people to agree, what do you want to present? When do you want to present it? Doing these prototype builds quite quickly starts to actually give you that visibility and requirements, including building, you know, what views it is, what type of questions, what type of integrations you actually really need. So we're finding that with customers that's what they like this, because it can be done quite agile, in an agile, quick view, that they start to deliver value quite you know, in small chunks, rather than waiting a long time for sort of old style IT projects.
And like to kind of add to that, for this particular example that I've been showing at, this is a demo, but very similar processes just like this have been put into production by different banks. And it usually has taken 6 to 8 weeks from the point of signing the contract to the point of deployment of the chatbot with the UiPath robot for 6 to 8 weeks until go live. And another point here to make is that with chatbots, chatbots can gather the information from different systems. You don't really need any kind of automation to do that. But if the systems don't have APIs, and this happens, for example, for mainframe systems or for older systems, they're never going to work. And also the chatbots don't have the ability to push information into systems. So although it's a good way to kind of have a customer-facing integration, you have to look at a process, at the longer process. Not only improves your interaction with the customer, but it improves the whole end-to-end journey. So you have to find a way, like robots, to actually push the information into all of the systems, use machine learning models, find the ways to get the next best offer, just improve the customer experience end-to-end.
Great. We have another question, Maria. Have we got any fraud-related experience on OCR on salary slips? So basically, we're obviously trying to extract data out of salary slips, and we're trying to build some risk-related rules to whatever the fraud checks are, and it's assessing them. And obviously, a robot can do that 24/7. I can only add experience from my first bot, Lisa, who was a fraud bot for motor vehicle, who saved £800,000 in her first year. But on this particular example, have you seen one across sort of HR? Because HR is a big area for us.
I can't say I've actually seen it happen, but I know the guys in the machine learning team have been working on different kind of risk assessment projects. So I do have to double check. I'm very happy to follow up with this. And in case we haven't been working on it, we're very happy to kind of undergo project as long as you are willing to share data. So we understand if you have, depends really on the salary slips, right? So if all the salary slips are the same, it's going to be a very easy project. If you have different types of salary slips, or I don't know, maybe you have them handwritten, I don't know how, like the organizations have different ways or with different handwritten notes on them. It's going to be a lengthier process, but really, as long as you're willing to share data, we are very, very open to trying and seeing what we can achieve with that. And I do believe we are working on a lot of kind of projects for types of transactions. So the machine learning team has definitely been working on projects. I don't know off the top of my head for salary slips, but on projects, yes.
Great.
Any other questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Then hopefully we're gonna ignite a bit more with how we apply what we've been seeing with today. So this was just an example of the types of demos we show in the lab, or the types of conversations. So all these questions around types of processes we've been working on, they're brilliant. And I think these are kind of the most important steps and the most important, the foundation stones in any kind of immersion lab experience. So just as we have open Q&As here, we have usually in a lab experience, we have everyone is unmuted, we speak, we throw questions, and it's so tailored to your particular needs and your particular processes that, for example, I'm not allowed to share 80% of the things we do here just because they're so personalized to certain customers. But every customer and even every partner, they have their particular objectives and their particular needs. So all of them have different, let's say, hot points in all these squares you see here. And everyone focuses on different things, whether you're just kind of boosting your automation journey, as I was saying, whether you want to look at the low-hanging fruits, or whether you're at the point when you want to automate fraud in salary slips. So it's really, the conversations are really, really personalized with experts, people much smarter than me on different topics. So as I was mentioning, this is what we do. We create the art of the possible for automation. So even if you haven't done it so far, we want to help you achieve it. And we want to help you prove that you can do it. So a lot of the stuff, I know a lot of the conversations has been around kind of machine learning or more intelligent automation. So one of my favorite projects was around predicting delinquent payments. So we were able to create a machine learning model integrated with UiPath automation, so with UiPath robots, to be able to tell whether customers which are the customers that are going to pay their invoices on time and which are the ones that aren't going to be paying their invoices on time. So obviously this is just one example, but you can apply it to different kind of horizontals. So what we do is, instead of speaking about stuff, we try to show stuff, and we try to get the customers and partners in conversations around these kind of art of the possible workshops. So we don't create let's say one-sided presentations, we create workshops, whether it be with customers or with partners as well, to be able to kind of enable them to go into the world and create better automations. So we demonstrate our automation first vision of designing and improving, transforming work processes. So how do we do that? As I was mentioning, by coming into the lab, you experience and touch the many aspects of our automation first vision. This means like personalized workshops on reimagining processes with experts such as Elaine, on discovering new ways of scaling, on understanding where your organization is and what are the next step in your operation and your kind of transformational process. We do this, as I was saying, by understanding and experiencing live demos of automated process showcases and also of product sneak peeks. So as I was going through the product stack earlier on, we show how all these products in the stack can come into different points of your automation journey and different points of your transformation and help you accelerate your transformation. So the topics can include anything from technology, live demos, product sneak peeks, as I was saying, deep dives, but also strategic session with C-level executives or industry experts, whether we're looking at architects, whether you were looking at your, let's say, sponsor for automation for your enterprise, or whether you're looking at bringing in your center of excellence. So both BAs, both developers, so on and so forth. It's a really good opportunity to meet and discuss with UiPath RP and machine learning experts. And as I was saying, all these sessions are completely tailored to the participating audience. So now the slide has different photos from the good old days when we had a physical lab. So these are the photos from our physical lab. And that's me over there. So now we've adapted, sadly, to the new way of working, and we've adapted by creating a virtual immersion lab. So with every challenge comes a new opportunity, and the real advantage of attending these virtual immersion lab sessions is that it allows you to bring as many people as you want to. So normally I'm a big fan of having fewer people in our immersion lab sessions. When we have 5 to 10 people, it's a really good way of interaction. It's a really good way of exchanging ideas. It's a really good way of creating action points. But if you want to enable everyone in your enterprise, in your organization, or if you want to kind of raise awareness, or if you want to touch different geographies. So for example, we've had a customer, it was actually banking customers from Switzerland. They wanted to bring in stakeholders from 20 different countries. Flying everyone to a physical location is great, and I completely encourage it you can use it as a way of kind of bonding and getting to know each other, which is always really, really good. But it's very simple anyway to kind of select a day on which everyone should be on the same web page and interacting with each other virtually. It's a very, very simple way to kind of show what you've been doing within your organization and also learn new things for all the geographies within an organization. As Elaine mentioned, we've been having customers we launched the virtual concept. We've been very fast with the virtual concept. We've launched it at the end of March. And since then, we've had over 100 visits. We've had customers from all industries, but truly financial services are always the first one and the forerunners for any type of innovation. And we've had a lot of interest from financial services, both from banks, as I was mentioning, Generali, a lot of Citibank. I have like a mental note now of all the kind of banks from both New Zealand, from the States, from Australia, from within Europe, a lot of banks from the UK, and also from insurances such as AXA, such as Zurich, so on and so forth. So what you see here on the left is the kind of immersion lab experience. So once you sign up for a lab, and Dirk will tell you a bit more about this a bit later on, you are going to receive a personalized invitation with a password and the login details for your day in the lab. And this will send you and all the people that participate into this lobby. So this is how it's www.vlab.uipath.com, but it won't work unless you have a password. But this is your lobby. So all of these circles here, these are rooms, and these are your sessions. And every time it's time for a session to start, a new room is going to pop up, whether it be Teams, whether it be Zoom, whether it be WebEx, it doesn't really matter. But you're sent to that room where the person providing the workshop is going to wait for you and give you the personalized content. Normally, what an agenda would look like, as I was saying before, we focus on the strategic level and then we go more and more into the depth. So we look at the roadmap and vision, we look at your roadmap and vision, and then we show live demos. So this is the work with automations kind of part. And then we can spread, or depending on how much time you want to invest, you can either spread in different sections, or we can do them sequentially. Normally, the envision automation is around how to scale. The operate automation is looking at products such as Automation Hub, process mining, task mining that enable you to A, democratize automation throughout your enterprise, and B, find more and more, generate more pipeline. And optimizing automations is how to use the numbers that come from your automations to prove your return on investment and to create better automations in the end. And before the conclusions and next steps, this is what kind of the agenda would look like. But you also, you actually have one-on-one rooms. So these are the people in the lab or the people kind of speaking on that day, and you can enter one-on-one rooms and spend the one-on-one times virtual coffee with them. But what I also wanted to mention is all the other lab services that we provide, and that a lab visit will unlock for you. So we offer more in-depth AI and machine learning workshops. We have our experts from within the lab kind of give more both technical and business. It really depends on what your intended audience is. Workshops and a better understanding on how to use machine learning, how to use document understanding, and in different areas. And what we've been speaking on a bit earlier is these innovation projects. So these basically are something that we create a digital team with yourselves as a customer, or with yourself as a partner, or with a triple digital team with the customer team, the partner team, and ourselves, to create a prototype for a more complex process. Usually this complex process uses machine learning, or it uses other technologies such as chatbots, since I've been showing that today, OCR, more intelligent OCR, BPM tools, so on and so forth. And at the end of these 8 to 12 work days, we're going to create a prototype to prove that the process can be automated. Elaine can speak a bit more about the innovation project she's been a part on, but I have already mentioned the one around delinquent payments. Unstructured emails, so emails triage. What else have we been working on? Yes, predicting analytics for different types of frauds, as I was saying before. And all of these really mainly have been with either banks, with insurance companies, and also with partners. And since we're in fintech, one of the really nice innovation projects we've been working on was with a partner, a large consulting company, in which we created an automation in kind of accelerating car damage claims. And for that, we integrated with blockchain, we integrated with OCR, we integrated with image recognition for photos, and we integrated with chatbots as well. Elaine, do you want to add anything more about the innovation projects here?
The only other one I'll add on to your list, because you've explained quite a few, and because all the customers in this area are regulated, complaints is normally a hot topic, because there's usually a timeline when you have to acknowledge complaints. So we've been working with customers to recognize those complaints, email triage, to action them, and to automate that process where you acknowledge them and send out the complaints procedures and get them tracked and logged. So that's an important one, that can be a bit of a gateway to starting to do machine learning and AI, and using our products to make those processes more intelligent.
Great. Any questions so far on innovation projects, on machine learning projects, on a day in the lab? So Dirk has been posting on the Q&A how to kind of receive, how to join up for lab sessions. And I think all the information is really there.
After the session, with an email, with a recording, if you have questions, if you want to talk to us, to Maria or to Elaine, or organize a dedicated immersion lab or an immersion lab you want to attend, as we're going to open it up. So we will make sure that you have all that information. I'm going to post it now into the chat, but I will also add it into the in the email that you will receive tomorrow. Reach out to us, make sure that you have all information you need. If you don't, reach out. Our team is here to help, to innovate together with you. Yes, are there any more questions on the end from the participants? I'm just going to post 2 more messages here. Give it a minute for you to digest. Otherwise, we wrap up. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Elaine, Maria, for taking the time to explain the work that you're doing. We hope to see you again in one of another webinars. Sign up to the website, stay in the know what we do, what things we're doing, and we will get back to you tomorrow with an email and with a summary of the webinar. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone, and see you in the lab.
Thank you.